Hi there! Ever wondered how much it costs to live in the UK? I've been living in England for over 2 years now, and I'm here to share my experiences. This topic is super popular because people from other countries considering a move here want to know what to expect, and I totally get it. So if you're curious about whether you can survive on your own in this country, stick around till the end of this video. I will share some crucial insights that you need to know before planning your move. Before we dive in, let me clarify that I don't live in London, but I'm not too far away either, about 2 hours. If you're considering London, I would suggest checking out some videos about life there, because that's a completely different ballgame with prices that can be pretty insane. And keep in mind that not everything that you hear about London applies to the rest of the country. Now, when you're aware of that, let's get into nitty-gritty of how much it costs to live in the UK. Before we talk about expenses, I think we have to discuss the salaries in England. They are a bit peculiar, at least to me. I'm from Ukraine, where salaries have quite a range. Even if you don't have skills, you can find a job with a decent salary for that country. But it's a bit different here. It seems like if you don't have any specific skills, you will likely earn the minimum wage or maybe a bit more. The minimum wage was £10.42 per hour in 2023, and it is set to increase to £11.44 this April 2024. So you can roughly estimate your monthly earnings, but don't forget to take taxes out of it. If you're looking at jobs like waiting tables, hotel cleaning, administrative work, or retail, you will likely land somewhere around that minimum wage mark. Jobs like accounting, plumbing, car mechanics, dentistry, and IT tend to pay more depending on your experience and skills. Teachers and doctors also earn decent salaries, but usually not right out of the gate. They need some experience under their belt first. Many British people expect high pay from the start, but that's not always the reality. It's like everywhere else. The more experience and skill you have, the more you can earn. In many fields, it's normal to start with a lower salary and see its increase over the years. And I personally think it's fair. After all, if I needed surgery, I would want the most experienced surgeon operating on me. I'm not attacking doctors here, even though the medical service is horrible here in the UK compared to Ukraine. But what I'm trying to say that it is normal everywhere in the world that at the beginning of your career, your salary will be lower than, say, in 10 years. But I'm not saying that it should be just a minimum wage. Believe me, being from Ukraine, I know enough about small salaries, and it shouldn't be like that, but also I'm not an economist, and I have no idea how to properly fix it. Now, let's talk expenses. Rent is the biggie, as it is in most places. Housing prices here are steep and constantly rising. They vary across the UK, so if you're curious about a specific city, do some online research. One thing is for sure, the closer you get to London, the more you will pay. I live about 2 hours away, and a one-bedroom flat or house here goes around £1,000 a month. Prices may vary depending on the area and the property's condition. A friend of mine lives 45 minutes away from London, and prices there start from £1,500 for a one-bedroom. In London itself, you might only get a room in a shared flat for the same kind of money. That's the norm for many people here, sharing accommodation to save costs. I live in a two-bedroom semi-detached house, and prices for the same places in my area start at £1,200. Those prices are just for rent without bills. I pay £360 for bills, including the internet. Some bills will increase in April, so keep that in mind. Your bills will vary depending on the size of your place and how many people live there. Council tax is a fixed expense. It covers things like bin collection, police and fire services, and adult social care. The bigger your place, the more you will pay council tax, even if you are living alone. Don't forget about your phone bill, starting around £20 a month, depending on your plan. Now, groceries. I spend around £250 a month on food and household essentials. That's just for cooking at home and basic items like soap and toothpaste. I mean, I'm not including here eating in restaurants or go to pubs with friends. Of course, your spending bill will vary, but that's a rough estimate based on how much I spend. The another consideration is transport. Public transport is not great and reliable outside London, so many people have cars. But if you don't have a car in the beginning, you would have to use public transport for commuting. In my area, a bus ticket costs £2 one way. If you're commuting 5 days a week, that's add up to £96 a month just for bus tickets. So it makes sense to look for a job somewhere close to your house so you don't have to use public transport. I live 15 minutes away from my job, but sometimes you cannot find accommodation so close to your work. If you have a car, this is a completely different story. You would have to pay not just for the fuel, but also a car tax and the insurance. You can pay for this once a year, or you can split the cost and pay for it every month, but this is a bit more expensive. And don't forget about parking. Car parking isn't usually free, except some supermarkets and cinemas, and fines can be hefty if you overstay. I was in shock when I found out that a car park at hospital is not free. Maybe not at every hospital, I haven't been to many of them, but at that particular you have to pay for the parking. And the same at some supermarkets. I think that's unacceptable, but it is as it is. I'm just sharing this with you. Okay, back to car expenses. In my case, I pay £90 a month for a car tax and the insurance altogether. And on average, I spend around £100 for fuel and around £35 for parking. But I'm trying to visit some nearest castles and interesting places when I have days off, and it adds cost to my expenses. While we have calculated essential expenses, there are some additional that we have to include also. Haircuts, beauty treatments, grooming products are additional expenses. I spend £20 a month on haircuts, but costs vary depending on where you go and what you need. I haven't even touched on clothing, repairs, gifts, and other personal expenses that can add up quickly. Your spending will depend on your lifestyle and priorities. So let's sum it up. Rent, bills, groceries, phone, car tax and insurance, fuel, parking, and haircut. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to look at these numbers. It comes to £2,075 for me. Even though I know how much I spend every month because I have an app on my phone where I write down all my expenses, seeing these numbers all together is shocking and terrifying. Let's see how much it will be if we exclude the car but add bus fares for commuting. It is still around £1,946 a month. This is a huge amount of money. And in this second option, I didn't add any expenses for your sightseeing. Meaning that, based on our calculation for the second option without the car, but including a bus, you just travel to work 5 days a week and stay home on the weekends or just go for a walk. But if you're like me and like to go to another towns or visit interesting places, I think we can easily round this sum to £2,000. Okay, now a really scare point. If you haven't calculated the minimum salary in the beginning of this video, let's do it together now. Assuming an 8-hour workday, and if we work 5 days a week, this is around 160 hours a month. So £11, 44 pence, multiplied by 160 hours, this is £1,830, 30 pence a month. And this is, say, £22,000 a year. But don't forget that from this amount, the government will deduct taxes, and from your £1,830, 30 pence, you will receive only £1,665. Based on my expenses in my area, if you rent a 2-bedroom house, you will spend £1,946 without going anywhere on weekends. What if you rent a 1-bedroom house? You will pay approximately £200 less, and this will be £1,746 compared to the minimum salary in £1,665. You can see that having a minimum salary is really hard to survive here. Most people earning that rent just a room, not a whole place. Maybe you can find a flat or a house, but the condition of it won't be good. In order to survive in this country, you have to earn a higher salary, and for this you have to have some special skill, as I call it, or meaning that you have to have some knowledge and experience in certain area. Or if you're earning a minimum salary, you have to live with a partner or a friend, and in this case you can share the cost. Of course, the whole expenses will be a bit higher, but you will be able to rent a flat or a house. But don't be desperate, not everything is that bad. Some jobs offer overtime or higher pay rates, which can help. And there is always a possibility of upskilling or finding a better paying work. Of course, you can become self-employed, but I don't have such experience in this country, so I can't tell you about this. Anyway, if you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, so I will know that the topic of life in the UK is interesting to you and other people, and I will create more videos on this subject share my experience as an immigrant. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below and I will answer them. See you in the next video. Bye!